Reading is about how you visually see and process words on a page or letters on a page. So we know that struggling readers definitely have difficulties with their sound awareness, their phonological awareness and processing, but they also can have difficulties with their visual perceptual skills. And that's how their eyes are processing that information on a page. I always think it's a good idea to have your child's eyes tested if they are struggling to read, because it might just be something as simple as, they just need glasses. Um, and if there are very serious reading difficulties, it's worth going to see a behavioral optometrist. Let's Fly is not a behavioral optometry therapy, but because I have done quite a lot of training in it over the years and in my own practice, I have found that all these exercises really make such a lovely difference to these skills. And they're also quite fun. So, there's that benefit too. But what we really want to do is make sure that our eyes are tracking from left to right properly, that we're tracking those individual letters in a word. We can differentiate between symbols that look quite similar, like B, D, P, which are exactly the same. They just have a different orientation. That words start from left to right, like was and saw. A lot of children read, or on or and no, read them back to front, or they read letters back to front. So, we want to make sure that the eyes are actually sort of seeing the shape, the spatial orientation of the letters, and in the right order. We want to make sure that they are differentiating properly between all the letters in a word. So like quiet and quite are very similar looking words, but they have got a tiny little shift in them and they actually mean something completely different. So we want to make sure that those little eyes are reading those words accurately, because if you don't read a word accurately, you don't get the meaning. We also want to make sure that little eyes can find words on a busy page or find letters in a big long word, so that they are decoding words properly and they are able to track words properly. And also when they are having to answer a question about something they've read, a comprehension or a passage, they need to be able to find specific words in that passage. So that ability to sort of really scan in and actually locate that precise word. And also we want to make sure that they're storing words in their long-term memory. So, quite a lot of little skills, and there's some really fun exercises that I'm going to talk about now. Every letter or letter pattern or phonic pattern in Let's Fly always has an element of a visual tracking exercise. And these exercises are so important because they firstly get those little eyes to track from left to right when they're reading. And so that when they're reading a word or decoding a word, they're also tracking from left to right. And they're also writing from left to right. So there's that physical element too. And we want to make sure that those little eyes are really seeing and identifying the particular letter in every word or letter combination. So, for instance, in the top exercise, draw a loop around every k. You can see that you start at on the left-hand side, keep your pen on the page, and then every time you see the letter k, you do a little loop around it. They might make a mistake in the beginning, and don't worry about that, because especially in the early days of Let's Fly, it takes a little time to get to grips with being able to differentiate those letters. Just tell your child not to worry at all. We really don't want them to be panicking about making a mistake. We want them to be learning from their mistakes. So just have them chat about what it is, or let's have a look at what the letter shape looks like. And just have another go. When they get to the end of the line, stop and then start again on the next line. And you can see the bottom exercise, draw a loop around every bill. There are some very similar looking combinations like LB or HL, and these are really deliberate because we want to make sure that those eyes are really analyzing and discriminating each letter and the sequence of each letter. So really fabulous and really important exercises. A lot of exercises in Let's Fly ask your child to highlight letters or letter combinations. And the particular letter has been chosen quite carefully. So the very left-hand picture, let's read words with blended sounds. What I want your child to do is highlight the vowels. And that's because we really are making sure that we identify those mid-vowels in words so that we read the words accurately. It's all about reading accuracy at this stage. In the middle picture, we're learning to differentiate between a D and a B. And the top task is to get your child to firstly see the difference between the two letters and replicate them in the right space. So it's sort of making sure that they are getting their spatial orientation correct, the spatial orientation of the letters correct, and being able to copy from left to right correctly. That is my little doggy in the background making a noise. Sorry about that. The next exercise is to highlight the Ds. So we are focusing on D in this exercise, and for your child to use the little highlighter pen and actually just highlight each D. Now you'll see their B's in there too, their P's, and their vowels as well, but we just want your child to actually scan the words from left to right, highlighting the Ds, and then we want them to read the word. Again, if they make a little mistake, they get confused between B's and D's. Remember, this can take ages. It took me ages, I have to tell you, as a little girl to get to see the difference. But, lots of practice, and I tell you what, everyone will get there. But if they do make a little mistake, don't correct them on every word, but just maybe go back to a word, point it and say, hang on, let's see which way. I like to use the tummy example. Which way does the tummy sit? Is it in front or is it, behind of the little stick? And so that they're really sort of starting to see where it is and thinking for themselves, so that they're doing that sort of that mental critical thinking about, oh, hang on, let me analyze that and which way does it go? Can you see at the bottom of that page, there's a little buzz B with its dotted line, and simply for your child to use one of their pens or the pencil and actually just trace over that dotted line. So we're getting a little bit of fine motor sort of tracking, again, visual tracking, but using our fine motor skills as well. And then in the third picture, let's make a design. I want your child to color in one of those and then build one in Play-Doh. So we're building Play-Doh again to get that visual image of that letter combination by building it, making it, having a little bit of fun doing it. And then you can see they're dotted letters, and in all the exercises, in all the letter combinations, we have these same exercises, again, just to make sure that repetition is always there. And so it's being able to, again, use your fine motor and your visual motor system to work together to recognize that letter combination. These, again, are really fun little exercises that all have a bit of a purpose and help to develop some of those visual motor skills. Copying shapes is really important. So the exercise gets a little bit harder as they go through Let's Fly. But the top left-hand exercise, what we want to do is make sure that your little child's copying the dot, so going from dot to dot. So think about your starting point. If you start on the top, go how many dots does the line go across? 1, then does it go down 2, then across 2, down 1, and then back across for 3 dots. So get them to count the dots and say the language across, down, up, or left and right if they know their lefts and their rights. Not all children do. I am still not very good with my lefts and rights, I have to tell you. But yeah, so just whatever works for them, but just that they're verbalizing their method. And then the copying shapes becomes a little bit harder. You can see that there's a almost like an envelope looking shape, and an octagon shape. So, just to copy those, but using those dots as a reference. And in this case, you're going diagonally across. Little frog and the maze and the bee and buzz bee. So being able to go through the maze. So it's again a little bit of visual planning and tracking, getting your eyes to go through that maze. Your eyes and your hand obviously working together. And then matching objects with their shadows. So, the difference between the background shape of an object and a colorful object. So again, this just helps with really recognizing symbols. And then there's some quite fun little copy to ask you to copy drawings in the boxes below. So you're literally copying shapes and shapes in relation to each other. Some children will have fine motor challenges and find this quite hard. Again, just let them take their time doing it. You might want to even make the page a little bit bigger if you want to, or just get them to do one element at a time. But they do need to practice the skill, and it's quite nice for them to see how they get better at it as they go through Let's Fly. And hopefully that will be the case. These 3 exercises are really great exercises to be done once you've learnt the words. So they're reinforcement exercises just to help with, the more you see a word, you need to see it multiple times before it gets stored in your long-term memory. So once we've learnt a word, we do practice reading them again and again, because that just helps all those little words to be glued into to long-term memory. And so the first exercise, Let's Play Hide and Seek. You can see that there's some words at the top on that sort of green band, and then there are little words hidden in the pictures. So we want your child to highlight the vowels first and then read the words, and then find the words hidden in the pictures and draw a line to match them. So what they're doing there is firstly reading the words, highlighting from the vowels, so where the vowel is, up, so they know they're reading up first. Then they're going to scan for up, hidden. This is visual figure ground, so looking for words hidden on a page with other visual information, and then draw a line to it. And the middle exercise is again very similar. So every time they find a word hidden in that little picture, they can cross it off in the word box, in the yellow word box. And I want them always to read the word as they see it. So we want the reading out loud to happen as soon as they see the word. Again, this is that repetition that's so important. And then the word search exercise, which is always really fun. Again, really looking for letters and looking for words. So being able to find a word in amongst a whole lot of letters. And I always think, either look for the vowels first and then look on either side, or look for the very first letter of the word. So if we look at splash, that very first letter is S. Look for all this and then look at us, what's the next letter? P. And then what's the next letter? L. And then they can actually cross it out, splash. And again, remember to get them to read the word once they've found it.